Hey guys! And now that we know what the Nintendo Switch 2 is capable of and what kind of games it can run, I think it would be interesting to talk about what Paper Mario game we could see on the Nintendo Switch 2, or what it could look like, and how it could be. I know I've speculated about the next Paper Mario games a few times in the past, but I wanted to talk about it with the Nintendo Switch 2 in mind, because I think the Nintendo Switch 2 was more powerful than I was expecting, so I think the next Paper Mario game could be on a much bigger scale than we're expecting, but I'd also really like to see it follow in the footsteps of the Thousand Year Door remake and kind of use that game as a template. But before we get started, I wanted to mention that I have a goal to hit 30,000 subscribers before the Nintendo Switch 2 launches, so if you enjoy my content, consider subscribing, and if I hit that goal, I will give away a copy of Mario Kart World. But I think the first thing to talk about is the release date, and I think one important thing to keep in mind is that the Thousand Year Door should be treated like a full Paper Mario game, like a ton of effort was put into it. So I think that should be treated as a part of like the usual Paper Mario release cycle. But the interesting thing about that game is that it finished development in summer 2023. Meaning that the next Paper Mario game, if it takes 4 years to develop, will probably release in 2027. I mean, it might be longer. I mean, maybe the reasoning for the fact that Thousand Year Door finished development in 2023 is because they were starting work on the next one, and the next one wouldn't take until 2028. So that might have been a potential reason why, but I think 2027 seems to be the most likely to me. It could be 2028, but I would say 2027 seems more likely to me if it's 4 years after the Thousand Year Door remake finished development. But for the type of game that it could be, I definitely think it could be heavily reminiscent of Thousand Year Door, but the scope will probably be much larger. I think they could definitely have a big hook of an open world in a similar way to Mario Kart World. I know not every game has to be open world, but I think it could work out pretty well in Paper Mario, because Paper Mario is an RPG after all, and there are tons of open world RPGs. I've actually had an idea before with an open world Paper Mario game taking place in the world from Paper Mario 64, but like an open world version of that, with new locations, but like the same basic layout of 64. I think that would be pretty interesting if they did something like that, maybe even incorporate some elements from Origami King as well. And speaking of Origami King was already kind of inching towards an open world environment. Like, it already had some very open areas like the Scorching Sandpaper Desert, and even some of the early areas of the game like Picnic Road was pretty wide open. But I think it was definitely inching towards like an open world Paper Mario game. I think that would be absolutely incredible if they did something like that. Like they could still like kind of section off little areas in that open world and still give them their own identity, especially if they were to base it on the 64 map. But they could do quite a lot with this. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is battles. And with the battle system, I've mentioned multiple times before that I really hope the next game has a Thousand Year Door style battle system. And the thing is with that, I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, if they do that, the next game is just going to be Thousand Year Door 2. It's going to be the exact same game. But that isn't the case at all. They could easily add new gimmicks that make it interesting. Look at how the Mario & Luigi series does it. Like, every game has that same core battle system, but they add something new to make it fresh, like Mario & Luigi Brothership added the battle plugs, and like Paper Jam had the cards, and there were like a lot of things that they did in the Mario & Luigi series. So it really wouldn't be a problem at all if they stuck with the Thousand Year Door battle system, but just added something new to it. And one idea that I had that could add something new to it, but would also make sense for like a Switch 2 Paper Mario game that takes advantage of the Switch 2 and everything, is battles in the overworld. Not real-time battles, but still like turn-based battles. But basically, they would start seamlessly in the overworld, kind of similar to recent Pokemon games, kind of like how they started that thing with Legends Arceus. But there are also like other games that do this too. But I just think it would be pretty cool if like you encountered an enemy on the overworld, you jumped on it, and then a bunch of other enemies rushed in, and then like a bunch of people kind of came into the background to be the audience. I think that would be pretty cool if it did something like that. It already seemed like Color Splash and Origami King kind of seem to be inching towards that, like just with how dynamic the battle environments were to where you were at. It seems like they were kind of going in that direction if they were going to stick with turn-based battles. So I could definitely see them doing that in the next game. Like, it keeps the core Thousand Year Door mechanics and everything, maybe even throws in like a new gimmick in there too. But it has the battles themselves in the overworld. I think it would be pretty cool if it did something like that. Like, because like, again, like another thing that the newer Paper Mario games did, like the enemies could actually harm you in the overworld in a similar way to Super Paper Mario. They could even do that in the Thousand Year Door remake. Like when an enemy hits you, it doesn't initiate the battle, it just kind of like hits you and you take damage. I think that was kind of inching towards like a more overworld oriented system. So I could definitely see them doing that in the next game here. And then also in battle, I could even see them doing like little gimmicks with like the mouse controls. Maybe like an optional thing because of like handheld mode. But I could see them doing like special moves with mouse controls. I had a couple ideas with this, like maybe like a water gun one, where Mario's kind of like, you kind of aim, like he's kind of holding it up and you have the scope, and you have to like aim it at a certain enemy. I think that would be pretty funny. Or there could even be like one similar to Art Attack, where you use the mouse. They could do different things like that. I know those would also be comparable to Things as well, but I mean, I guess it would be in a system more comparable to the special moves from Thousand Year Door. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the art style, because I feel like the art style and visuals could definitely flourish in the next Paper Mario game. I definitely think they could look really good, and I think the characters could look really expressive. I feel like most likely this will be inspired by the Thousand Year Door remake. I think the Thousand Year Door remake was probably a big blueprint for the future of Paper Mario. I would say it seems like they put so much effort into adapting that classic style into HD that it seems like they would want to continue with that. It seems like it makes a lot of sense. Like, they could do a lot with that style, like with the fact that it uses like so many textures and things, and it kind of allows for a lot of creativity. So I could see them doing that, but also make it like even more papery. I mean, I know people kind of roll their eyes when I say that, but I could see them making it look good with that papery style, but also make it look natural like the Thousand Year Door remake. So I could see them do something like that. And with the Thousand Year Door style, I could definitely see them still having those character designs there as well, but with maybe like a few modernized elements, like modern colors and things. Like, take that exact same Goomba design, but give it like modern colors and things. And the thing is, I think those Thousand Year Door character designs still work in the modern day, because the thing is, the general direction of the Mario franchise with its art style is shifting to be more inspired by those classic 2D Mario artwork and like Super Mario World. So I would say sticking with that Thousand Year Door style character designs would still definitely be fitting in this day and age with the Mario franchise and everything. I think some of those older designs like the Boo and Koopa and Goomba, they definitely still fit in with the modern designs, like especially if they are kind of being more inspired by the older artwork. But yeah, those are some of the ideas that I have for the art style. I think this game could end up looking absolutely incredible. It's probably gonna surpass the Thousand Year Door remake even, but I think the Thousand Year Door remake really was kind of a blueprint for how a Switch 2 Paper Mario game will look. Because the Thousand Year Door remake already pushes the limits of the Switch 1, and I feel like is definitely the best looking Paper Mario game, like, right now. So I think it definitely seems like they will go in that direction, because that just seems like the next logical step for a visual style that the Paper Mario series will take next. But yeah, anyways, let me know what you think down below. And anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server and Blue Sky if you want to. Stay perky!